Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I've never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you yet again. This is Sunday, October 12th. This is going to be a short video. Obviously, it's a huge NFL day, but if you want my NFL analysis, go check out the video from last night. Hopefully, you guys caught that. We do have a play in the London game on the Jets +7 that's already in action right now, so hopefully we're going to get that one right. We do have 3 more plays, which I'll reiterate at the end of this show. I don't have anything in hockey or baseball today, but I am going to analyze both of those games. Only 2 games today other than the NFL. NFL takes front and center, even though we do have baseball playoffs going. Jeffrey, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Missouri, yeah, well, I'll talk about Missouri and what happened yesterday. Washington State potentially could have won the game outright. I didn't use Washington State, though, as a play or in any of my, I'm in like a pick 6 and a pick 7 pool for money, and I'm like slightly off of being in the money right now in both of those. Like I'm 2 or 3 picks off, and I did not use I used Missouri in both of those. I did not use Washington State. We got the 3.5 in those games for the Missouri game, so that was good. I will talk about that right now, actually. Why not? Yesterday we went 5-3. It should have been better than that. It almost wound up being a losing day. We started out 4-1. So I'm thinking, all right, we're crushing it. We're going to win this day easily. And it looked like it was going to 5-1 with Auburn. And then everything started going haywire. And then it looked like we were going to be 4-4. But we did get the last game of the night right to wind up with a 5-3 day yesterday. So Missouri, I tracked that as a +3.5 because I said, when I gave it out on Friday night, I said, like, the way the line was moving, I was like, Alabama's kind of public, expecting the public to come back in on the Alabama side, and actually professional money in some cases was actually coming back on Alabama as well because the professionals disagreed on the game. So I was like, you got to get the best number that you can on this. For Missouri, you could probably still get the 3.5. And sure enough, yeah, there were 3.5s out there Friday night into Saturday morning. So I did track it at the 3.5. As on my show on Friday night, I said just wait to see if you can get the 3.5 because 3 looked like it was the worst you were going to get on that. And then, it did happen into Saturday. So I tracked that one as a win. We lost the first game, which was Michigan State. I mean, that was not even close. UCLA just looks like a completely new team at this point. Pretty shocking, but that was the only, totally legitimate loss that I took yesterday, to be honest. That one was easily the one that I was just way off on. Missouri, like we said, they got the win, plus the 3.5. They could have won the game outright, man. Missouri, their rushing attack was good early in the game. They had a lead, I think, at multiple points in the game. I think they were winning. I think they might have been winning at halftime. I had the game on a little bit before halftime, and I think Alabama turned it over in their own territory when it was tied, I believe, and I believe Missouri went up 17-10 off of that turnover. They were able to put it in the end zone after that, I think, when I was watching it. I know it got close near the end, and then, Missouri had a chance to potentially win or tie the game again at the end, and I believe they turned it over at the end of the game. I think they threw an interception, which was they were still on their own side of midfield, but they were getting close to midfield, and I think they threw an interception on the other side of midfield, like is where the interception actually took place. But yeah, just trying to make something happen at the end of the game. Missouri is more of a rushing attack, so maybe you're not really expecting Missouri to be able to actually get the job done at that point when they're in like a 2-minute drill or whatever. But the rushing attack was good enough in the game to get us the cover, at least in that one. Texas was a close game early on, and then Texas just completely opened it up and wound up actually getting a fairly easy win against Oklahoma. 23-6, I think was the final, and I think it was a game where I think Texas was losing 6-3 early in the game, and then their defense was really good in the game yesterday, man. I think possibly, I don't know if Mateer was in there for Oklahoma, but if he was, I don't really watch the game, but if he was, maybe not 100%. I was right about the under in that game too, by the way. The under came through pretty easily in that game too, so it was not a Red River shootout. It was a Red River, I don't know, what something with an R. Red River Rumble is what it was. It was a low-scoring defensive game. Texas able to get the job done for us there. And then Auburn, oh, man. Stacks, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Auburn, that's the game. It's going to piss me off for a long time, man. Auburn, they're up 10-0 in the game. They're about to go up 17-0 shortly before halftime, I believe. And that's when everything happened. That's when the play happened. It looked like the runner on Auburn crossed the plane. They would have been up 17-0. Instead, they ruled that the ball was coming out and there was a fumble, which I think was the incorrect call. Georgia fans were saying it should have been a return for a fumble 6 the other way. But the refs had whistled the play dead. I don't even think it was a fumble, dude, because as soon as the ball crosses the plane, if it's still in the runner's grasp, it doesn't matter what happens after that. It's a touchdown. So I think it should have been a touchdown. I don't know. I think, yeah, you're going to say that I'm biased, but I think that was correct. I think the fact that it was a touchdown is correct. I think the refs got it completely wrong. I think the refs started potentially rigging the game for Georgia, even though I don't know if it makes total sense because I think the books wanted Auburn to get that one because the public was on the Georgia side. But in some ways, the NCAA kind of wants Georgia to keep winning because Georgia are like the darlings. Auburn tends to get screwed by a lot of these reffing calls. And then after that, it looked like, okay, well, yeah, I mean, this is bad enough. But Georgia started at their own 1-yard line after that. So it's like, okay, we're going to go into the half still up 10-0. No, because then the refs call 70 yards of penalties on one drive in the final minute of the half or whatever against Auburn. They basically drive Georgia down the field on all penalties, get them into field goal range, and now all of a sudden it's 10-3, and Georgia has all the momentum. And then Auburn never scored again. And then there was that other play later in the game where Kirby Smart obviously called timeout and didn't get charged with the timeout. Another bullshit reffing call there. They knew he called timeout. Everybody knew that. And then people are saying, oh no, the defender on Auburn clapped and it threw the offense off. What the fuck are you talking about, dude? On defense, you're allowed to signal to your other players on defense. I don't know what the fuck people are even talking about. Kirby Smart clearly called for a timeout and it never got charged. Just absolutely ridiculous. And then even with all that bullshit, it was still 13-10 Georgia in the final minutes of the game. So, okay, we can still get a cover here. Basically, at that point, you need Georgia to just get an additional first down, get rid of all of Auburn's timeouts, and just win the game by 3, and then at least we still cover on the +4. No, instead, Auburn basically has to let Georgia score a touchdown so they can get the ball back, but you're down 10 at that point. So what the fuck do you think you're going to do? Score when you haven't scored in the entire half, and then onside kick and get the ball back again? Oh, and by the way, Auburn was so good defensively in the first half. By the way, Georgia, I believe, had 10 yards of offense in the entire first half, I believe was what it was for Georgia. So Auburn's defense dominated. If you were going to tell me that Auburn was going to hold Georgia to 10 yards of offense in an entire half, I would have been even more all over Auburn in that game. It's just absolutely ridiculous how they could have such a dominant defensive performance and not even cover as an underdog. Totally ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, that timeout thing was ridiculous. And then Auburn had that one last chance to then backdoor it because now all of a sudden they're down 10. The only time they were not covering was the final score. They were only not covering in the final 4 minutes of the game or whatever. So it was almost a wire-to-wire cover for Auburn there. And Auburn was not able to get it done. I think they got into Georgia territory, and then they turned it over on a 4th and 1 play, I'm pretty sure, where they couldn't continue the drive. They had a chance to get a touchdown at the end there, and it did not happen. Scored 0 in the second half. Absolutely pissed me off. They should have had a 17-0 lead at halftime, and instead they never score again, and they only scored 10 in the game. That was just totally ridiculous. Everything about that game was unreasonable. NHL and NBA tomorrow. Wait, what? NBA? No, the NBA starts next Tuesday, I'm pretty sure. You might be talking about preseason. I'm paying no attention to preseason. I think the NBA official season tip-off or whatever is October 21st or something like that. It's whatever next Tuesday is. See you next Tuesday. Yeah, I think it's the 21st. There are 3 games. UCF was decent. Did they cover against Cincinnati? I don't even know. I didn't pay attention to all the games. I think I probably leaned to UCF in that one. I survived in Survivor, by the way, with Houston and Minnesota. Minnesota was on the verge of potentially allowing the game to go into overtime at the end, but they stopped Purdue on 4th down at the end of that game, although Purdue was having to go 7 yards to get a tying touchdown at the end. That would have gotten even more dicey though, because if Purdue had a touchdown there at the end of that game, they could have gone for a 2-point conversion to just try to win it right there. And if you're Survivor on the line with Minnesota there, that would have been crazy. I thought I had to take the shot with Minnesota though, because Survivor's getting to a point where you're pretty limited in the teams you can pick now. They're all big conference teams, and I've used a decent amount of the lesser big conference teams already. So I was I think I have to use Minnesota here. And I did use Houston, even though they have a couple of fairly Survivor-worthy games left. I felt like I had to do it in that spot, so I did that. You're going to put out a preseason pick? All right, yeah, preseason, I just don't pay attention to it, man. And preseason is all about, who's in the team's rotation, basically. Which team is going to have the deeper rotation, kind of like NFL preseason. But I don't do it, man. I can't do it. All right. And then hockey yesterday, yeah, we did well. We went 3-1. We got the Detroit Red Wings, which I think was actually the second game to finish. They were losing 2-0 early in the game. Then they wound up being able to win the game 6-3. I haven't dug into the box score to see what happened in that one. I'm guessing they probably had at least one empty net goal there. But I think it was the right call as the underdog there. They got the outright win, obviously, so by 3 goals. So it wasn't I don't think it was a situation where it was totally misleading or anything. And they were able to come back from a 2-0 deficit. So we got Detroit. The New York Rangers, pretty dominant performance. I think they won their game 6-1. That one was never in doubt. They were just winning the whole time. One thing I also forgot to mention again was that was that coaching matchup again with Mike Sullivan, the new coach for the Rangers, who used to coach for Pittsburgh and was the U.S. coach in the Four Nations tournament. And I believe he's actually from my area as well. He's from my area of Massachusetts as well. So Mike Sullivan, he's very Massachusetts name, by the way, the Irishman, Mike Sullivan. But that was a huge game for him and his team because he was returning to where he used to coach in Pittsburgh. So that made it, I think, even a bigger deal for the Rangers, which I forgot to even include that in the handicap. So that was probably the best of all my hockey plays. Colorado was the loser. They had chances to win that game for sure. I'm not saying that they should have. It was a close game, and Colorado did outplay Dallas, though, so maybe they should have won that game. I don't think it was really an incorrect call, though. I don't think they ever led by more than 1 goal, though, so it was a tight game. And when you have a favorite like that in a tight game, maybe you could argue it wasn't the right call just because the price was a little bit too high. The game went into overtime, though. They wound up losing in a shootout, which, I mean, at that point, it's just it's anybody's game at that point when it gets to a shootout, or even into overtime because it's sudden death. So that was kind of a brutal loss on the Colorado side there. They played well in the game. I mean, they had more shots. They had more hits. They were the better team in the game. Just did not get it done on the final score. I think they did have a lead at one point in the game. They were trailing by one a couple of different times. They retied it near the end of the game and then didn't get it done. And then the craziest of all of them was the Anaheim game. Anaheim and San Jose, just ridiculous game that was. I think Anaheim had a lead early in the game, maybe at 2-1 or something, and then didn't lead again until the final score. They were down 2 goals late in the game. It was a ridiculously high-scoring game. By the way, I'm an idiot. I was talking about Chris Kreider being on the Rangers. He's actually on Anaheim now, so I didn't even know that. So my boy Kreider had to go out to the Pacific Coast and play for this shitty Anaheim team. He should improve the team, but man, because Kreider, he had at least 1 goal in last night's game. He's good, man. My guy, my former coworker's son's friend, Chris Kreider. My nephew's cousin's brother's former roommate or whatever. Yeah, that's basically my tie to Chris Kreider. I've never actually met him. But yeah, Anaheim, they were down 2 goals. They cut it back to 1. So it's like, well, Anaheim could still do this. They're down 1 going into the third period in a ridiculously high-scoring game. So goals being scored all over the place. And then they were actually down 2 again late in the game. They were down 6-4, I think, with 10 minutes left, which I wasn't watching because at that point I was doing my NFL show. And they wound up tying the game, I think, with a really late goal. After they got back within 1 with 8 minutes or so left in the game, they tied the game right near the end, I think maybe even in the final minute, and then wound up winning the game either in overtime or a shootout. I think it was overtime in that case. I didn't look, but absolutely ridiculous way to win. Although Anaheim, if you look at the stat sheet, Anaheim deserved to win that game. Like, they outstatted San Jose big time in the game. Anaheim had, I think, all the major stats went in Anaheim's favor. Like, they had the shots, even though I know they were losing by multiple goals a couple of times. When it's a back-and-forth game like that and goals are just getting scored all over the place, they're not really, like, in desperation mode at that point, at least until, like, the final minutes of the game there. But Anaheim was winning the entire game. They had a shot differential in their favor in the game, and then they also had more hits, so they were the more physical team. So, yeah, I mean, I think Anaheim deserved to win that game. They did, but it got kind of lucky at the end. Kreider's gonna point shave. Well, yeah, yeah. Let's incriminate ourselves here. Yeah. I'd have to, he'd have to know who I am first to get him to pay attention to me. Let's talk about these games today. There are 2 games besides the NFL. Again, you can go watch my NFL show from last night. There's one hockey game. This hockey schedule is just bizarre, man. We had no hockey at all on Friday. Every hockey team played yesterday. So both of these teams today are playing on a back-to-back. They're not having to play in the afternoon, though. A lot of times there's afternoon hockey on Sunday. This is a night game. It's a good matchup between Washington, the Capitals, and the Rangers here. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. These teams are on the back-to-back, like I said. So they both played yesterday. The Rangers were playing in Pittsburgh, and they're having to come back home from that. Not a huge travel spot there, really. Washington is just staying in New York. Both teams won yesterday. The Rangers won at Pittsburgh. Washington beat the Islanders in New York. So they're just going from one borough to another, basically, where I think the Islanders play in Brooklyn now. They used to play, actually, I might be wrong about that. Do they play in Brooklyn now? Or do they, because I remember they used to play in the Nassau County Coliseum, so they're actually a little bit outside of the bounds of New York City, but now I think they play in Brooklyn. I could be wrong about that. I'm not really a New York guy, so I don't know. 89% of tickets are on the Rangers here, so they're the public side, which seems a little bit odd to me, though, because the Rangers haven't been the better of these 2 teams over the last couple of years. Remember, Washington had the best record in the Eastern Conference last year. The Rangers didn't even make the playoffs. Rangers are 2-1, though, and Washington's 1-1, and the Rangers have a name, like a lot of name recognition behind them, so I guess that's the only reason why. The Rangers' one loss was at home, though, in their home opener to Pittsburgh, which was part of my handicap yesterday, but the public is on the Rangers here at 89%, but the money has moved the line on Washington, flipping them from a plus 104 dog to a minus 109 favorite, with 53% in the cash on Washington, so a pretty strong market read on Washington here. I just don't really, I don't have really much of a thought on this game, like from a situational perspective. To me, I come into this game thinking the Rangers might be a little bit undervalued because of Like last year, they just didn't make the playoffs and they underperformed. I know they don't have Kreider anymore, which I just found out, but they're still a solid team. But I think part of the reason for this move, actually, I'm gonna assume that it's because of the goalie situation. Let me see. I'm assuming Shesterkin is probably not going to play in this one because it's backup goalie time here. Both teams have their backup goalie in, but Rangers' backup goalie is Jonathan Quick. I mean, he's a pretty experienced goalie, so I don't think it's a downgrade, but I don't think it's too much of a downgrade. And Washington's going with Lindgren in net, and I think that might be more of a downgrade, to be honest. So I still don't really understand the move here. I mean, some of it, I guess, is because Shesterkin is so good that him not playing does downgrade the Rangers a bit. But again, Quick, I think, is better than Lindgren. So, and has more, I think he has more, I don't want to say he has more experience because they're both experienced, but I think his resume over his career is better. So, I don't know. I don't really understand it. The money is saying Washington. I don't necessarily see it. I don't really see a situation. I mean, you could argue the Rangers are coming off more of an emotional high, though, getting that win from Mike Sullivan in his return to Pittsburgh there. Even though Pittsburgh's not a good team right now, the Islanders are actually a better win for Washington there. So, yeah, and Washington, of course, their first loss was to a now 3-0 Bruins team. The Bruins, I'm still not sold that the Bruins are any good. They beat Buffalo yesterday. The money was coming in against the Bruins. Buffalo's still not good either, so... Yeah, the jury's still out on the Bruins, but I think I'm still right that the Bruins won't be the last place team in their entire division, though, that they were being a little bit undervalued. But anyway, this Washington-New York game, the money's saying Washington. I don't really see it. So I guess it's going to be, a wait-and-see approach on that one. I'm not going to play that game. And then the baseball game, the ALCS begins with Seattle at Toronto. So the number 2 seed Seattle in the AL against the number 1 seed Toronto. Rare situation, man, since they changed the wild card format. Usually those wild card teams sneak into these conference into these league championship series, man. Not the case in the American League. The top two seeds actually made it here. Toronto's public, 87% of tickets, only 79% of the cash on them. They're down from minus 160 to minus 154. So Toronto's a favorite. Not a substantial favorite. They're definitely good at home, and Seattle's not quite as good on the road, but Toronto's very public because everybody is going to put more weight into what Toronto did. Toronto came close to sweeping the Yankees out of the playoffs, so people are going to give Toronto more credit for what they did to the Yankees. They kind of dominated the series. I mean, they had huge run totals in the first couple of games, whereas Seattle played a bunch of these low-scoring games, whatever. Everybody saw Seattle have to go to 15 innings the other night on Friday night to win that game against Detroit. So everybody's lining up on Toronto here, man. The public is all over Toronto. You know I have Seattle winning in my bracket. I do think it is a concern, though, that Seattle had to play a 15-inning game. I mean, that is a grueling game. They get 1 day off. Toronto is the more rested team because they've had probably 3 days off at this point. But the money is still coming in against Toronto, man, which is very, very interesting to see. I do think Toronto's probably being a little bit overvalued, though, like I said, because people are going to put more weight into Toronto's win and the way that they won. The fact they have so much hitting and they looked really good offensively. They beat the Yankees. Nobody's going to really give Seattle that much credit for beating Detroit and barely beating them. Seattle, remember, was without their best pitcher, though. Woo. And it remains to be seen if he's back. I don't know if he's on the roster for this series. They're going to need Woo, man, if they're going to try to win this whole thing. He's their best pitcher, and Seattle's doing this without him, which is crazy. By the way, I did forget to mention the Brewers did win in their Game 5, which did not go into extra innings last night. I watched the end of that game. They were able to finish the game off against the Cubs last night. So the Brewers will be hosting the Dodgers in the NLCS starting tomorrow. In this game, and Seattle does have to travel as well, though, all the way from the Pacific Northwest now up to Toronto. So it is a travel spot that doesn't look great for Seattle. So even though the money's coming in Seattle, I don't really want to do it. I'm going to leave this game alone completely. And we're looking at the starting pitching here. I could see reasons that both pitchers might do well here and reasons that both pitchers might not do well. The total actually is a high total for a playoff game. It went up from 7.5 to 8. I mean, we're dealing with two offenses that are quite capable. 85% of tickets are on the over, 53% of the cash on the under, though. Some money coming back on the under, but for a playoff game, that is a fairly high total. So just something to keep in mind there. Seattle used a lot of their bullpen in that extra inning game, obviously. They used some of their starters, too, though, in the extra inning slate there, which obviously they didn't use Miller because he's going to be the one who's pitching today. So Seattle's having to use one of the last guys in the rotation to start this game. Bryce Miller, he's been good in the past. He just didn't have a good season this year because he was dealing with injuries. 5.68 ERA, 1.41 whip. Bad numbers for him, I know. He was actually a little bit better on the road, 5.56 road ERA. Usually that's not the case, though. Usually Seattle's pitchers do better at home than on the road. And I think in his career that's been the case, too. Miller, he did start to settle down a little bit, and towards the end of the season, still giving up too many runs, though. For the most part, but he's getting a little bit better, maybe settling back down, maybe getting used to being back in a major league rotation, kind of returning to form a little bit. He was okay in his start. He made one start in the Detroit series, went 5 1/3 innings. They did not overwork him, though. He was pretty efficient. He only threw 55 pitches, so that's a decent sign that he's not going to be burned out or anything like that. And he also missed a big chunk of the season due to injury, so he's not going to be overworked. He went 4 1/3 in that game against Detroit, gave up 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, no walks, 4 hits. So he was decent in that start. But he's going up against a much more potent offense here with Toronto. Up against Toronto, Miller has not exactly been good in 39 at-bats, 4-4 strikeout walk ratio, 333 average, allowed a 934 OPS. So that's not very good for Miller. So I could see Miller potentially struggling in this game, man. So the money's coming in on the Seattle side, and I just don't want to do it because I think Seattle's pitchers, especially Miller, just not particularly good on the road at all. He's not particularly good against Seattle. The rest situation doesn't look good for Seattle, so I would worry if I was going to be on Seattle here. Seattle does have the better bullpen generally, though. If you think that they can, have yesterday off to get some rest there after that long game Friday night, Seattle does generally have the better bullpen, but Toronto has had theirs resting for a few days now. Kevin Gausman, I'll pronounce his name the way the announcers pronounce it. I'll give them respect. I like saying Gausman, though. It sounds more emphatic. Gausman is pitching for the Blue Jays. He's basically been their ace, essentially. Good season for him, 3.59 ERA, 1.06 whip. A little bit worse at home, 3.86 home ERA. He pitched once in the playoffs against the Yankees. He was pretty good. He went 5 2/3 in his start against the Yankees. Got a lot of run support behind him, although it happened late in the game. I think that was game 1 of the series, and it was 2-1 late in the game, and then Toronto exploded against the Yankees bullpen late in the game, and they won. Actually, it might have been game 2, actually, now that I think of it. I forget. It was both games where Toronto scored a lot of runs, though. They kind of did all the damage against the Yankees bullpen. Gausman went 5 2/3, though. He did pick up the win. So his team had the win when he left, and then they maintained the win. 3 strikeouts, 2 walks, 1 earned run, allowed 4 hits. Pretty good start for him, especially considering the Yankees are a good offense. Seattle's offense is not as good as the Yankees. So Miller is actually going to have to step up in class to face a Toronto offense that's better than Detroit's offense. Seattle's offense is good, but it's not as good as the Yankees. So just something to keep in mind there. Gausman against Seattle is fairly good in 143 at-bats, 39-9 strikeout walk ratio, 245 average, and 688 OPS. So his numbers are pretty good against Seattle. So the matchup edge looks like it goes to Gausman here. I think if you're going to play Seattle, you got to do it full game because the bullpen is one of the edges that they do have. The starting pitching looks like it is in favor of Toronto. Yeah, I mean, if you go Toronto, maybe going first 5 makes a little more sense just to take the bullpen out of the equation because I do think their bullpen is just not totally trustworthy, but I don't understand all the money coming in on Seattle in this one. I would let it go. Yeah, I'm worried about the fact that Seattle had that grueling game the other night, although a lot of times when you see that happen, the team they win, they have momentum, and it does give them a lot of confidence. It gives them that momentum moving forward. So I could see that kind of being in effect too, but I'm not going to play that game, obviously. Jewish, I don't know. That's why I say Gausman, because it sounds more German or something. I don't know. And then NFL is where I have all my plays today. I'll reiterate my best bets here, which one of them is in play right now, and I don't even want to see what's going on in the game, but I do have the Jets +7, which is already in action. And the other plays I gave out, if you want to see my analysis, you can follow me on Instagram. I'll put out the rest of the videos shortly. And I have my main NFL video that I did last night. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with that one. Although it was mostly just Charles last night. But we did have my analysis for these games is there, so you can see why I'm making the craziest plays imaginable here. We're going to be on Arizona +9.5, which I talked myself into on the show last night, so you can see me doing that. I was ranting at the beginning of that game too, so some entertainment value on last night's show. Cleveland +6.5, which is the most absurd of all of them because it goes against the bye rest situation too, but I actually think that situation actually turns out to be an advantage for Cleveland. And we're going up against history there because Cleveland has not won in Pittsburgh since 2003, but they don't need to win the game. They just need to cover. So Cleveland is a play, and then the New Orleans Saints +3.5. You can go see my analysis on those. I'm not that crazy. Denver's up 10-6. That is bad already. That is bad. We need the Jets to stay in that game. Mark Lawrence, what about him? I like his. I usually like his plays. I usually agree with him. He likes Cleveland too. All right, well that's a good sign, I guess. A couple of guys that I follow like Cleveland. So yeah, my man Marco D'Angelo, who I've learned the most from, the situational handicapper that he is. He also likes the Browns. So I'm not alone in that. And we can just we're gonna look at the. I always do the final market read for the NFL before I get out of here. I thought this video was going to be 15 minutes, but I'm just out there talking. Broncos-Jets, we did get the market read on this one for us. 76% of tickets, only 63% of the cash on the Broncos. So it is a public fade. The market read, low total, still looks good to me on the Jets side. They're going to either cover or they're not, man. I mean, once you let it roll, it's out of your hands, man. The Browns are still the market read in their game against the Steelers. Steelers public side with less of the money there. Cardinals still look like they're a very anti-public side. I think we're getting a ton of value on that number in the injured player theory spot. And based on just ridiculous disparate results last week. So we're going with that one too. The market read is in agreement with it. The market read is saying take the Ravens plus the points still, which that is in agreement with me from last night as well. Seahawks are getting a little bit more of the money. I agree with that one as well. I have the same opinions as last night as well. The Panthers look like they're the anti-public play with more of the money on them against the Cowboys. So Panthers still makes sense to me. The Dolphins plus the points still makes sense to me against the Chargers. That's the side that's getting more of the cash going against the public again there. The 49ers still look like the right read against the Buccaneers, which I also agree with, and that money is coming in against a home favorite in the Buccaneers. It looks like, the Buccaneers public home. That's not that weird. The Buccaneers are a public home favorite. For some reason, I was thinking the 49ers were the favorite in this game. They're not. But yeah, the money's coming in against the home favorite Buccaneers here, who are also the public side. So it looks like the 49ers are the correct side there. The market read is very strong on the Titans against the Raiders, but I actually disagree with that one. So do with that information what you will. That's the only market read that I actually disagree with here. Strong market read with the money on the Titans there, which does worry me about that one, because I'm even considering the Raiders in Survivor. I did not take the Broncos in Survivor, because I think they have some better games in the future here. And just, I didn't like them to cover. They're not a great offensive team, really. And those London games are just weird, so I didn't want them. Although the favorites have done pretty well in London games in the past. So worry a little bit about taking an underdog in a London game. But the Steelers were able to do it a couple weeks ago, although that wasn't one of my plays. It was a lean for me. And I did have a play on the Jags against the Bills as an underdog a couple years back, and they got the job done. So we will see. But yeah, for Survivor, man, I mean, I already used the Colts, unfortunately, because they have multiple Survivor-worthy games left. We could use the Rams in Survivor. They have some probably better looks in Survivor later in the season, though. Raiders have basically no future value, so I should have played the Saints last week, and then I would still have the Colts available. Saints would have gotten me there, man, and there's no way we'd ever want to use the Saints again in Survivor, really. So I should have done that last week and just had huge balls. I still think the Raiders are the right side here, though. I still think they're a Survivor look, potentially. I think the Steelers might be just because they basically never lose at home against the Browns, but I like the Browns to cover, so that seems a little bit dicey. And then Packers, obviously, if you want more of a sure thing, you could take them in Survivor, but Packers have a lot of future value. I think they're one of the best teams in the NFL, to be honest, so I would not really want to burn the Packers yet, even though you'll most likely get it done this week. Patriots, Saints. Patriots are a public road favorite here with the money coming in against them still. So the market read says Saints. I also say Saints. The market read is saying Packers slightly laying the points. I'm in slight agreement on that one, but that's the one that I like the least out of all the games this week, really. We have an anti-public home favorite in the Chiefs. So the public is actually on the road underdog Lions in the Sunday night game. Money is coming in on the Chiefs. I do agree with that one, although not really a strong read for me. And then Monday night, we could talk about tomorrow, but my reads are still in agreement on those, with the public being on the Bills, less of the money on the Bills. The money saying the Falcons. I agree with that. And the public being on the Redskins tomorrow night. And the money kind of coming in on the Bears side a little bit there against the public. And I also agree with that. Fading the public constantly. That's what I do, man. So that's kind of the late market read. Nothing has really changed from last night. So that's going to do it, man. Survivor pool is a big money. I'm in multiple, but yeah, the big one that I'm in on Splash Sports is, yeah, it's huge money. It's like, it's a $2.5 million prize, which is either going to be one person wins and takes the entire thing, or that money gets split amongst the winners if everybody loses in the same week, if like the remaining people all lose in the same week. And you have to go against the grain in a huge Survivor pool like that. So I wish I took the Saints last week. The Raiders would be really the play to go against the grain this week. I don't know if I could stomach it, though. I think I could stomach the Saints more easily because I think the Raiders are the right side in the game today, but the market is disagreeing strongly with it, which I don't like at all. So I worry about it. I mean, I don't know, man. We'll see what I wind up doing in that in Survivor. But yeah, I don't know. I'm in a couple of smaller Survivor pools as well, but that one is the big one. I forget what the entry was in that one. Let me see. I could show. I can look at it because I don't have it up on my screen anymore. Let me see. The Survivor pool that I'm in, it was only a $150 entry, so that's less than I thought it was. But I have I'm in the multiple money, huge pick'ems that I'm in, and the Survivors that I'm in. Probably I have about $1,000, maybe a little bit more, that I risked combined across all of those. So obviously the goal is to try to win some amount of money from that. So if I get back over $1,000 from it, then I'll be winning. Remains to be seen right now, though. I'm teetering right on the edge in the pick fives, pick sixes, whatever, to be in the money section of it. So I have to make some nice runs from here on out to do it. It's difficult to do, man. And then Survivor, you can just be toast at any point. So Survivor's just crazy. You can get unlucky and just be dead. So I might just lose all that money, which sucks. Yeah, thank you, sir. I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing it. It's a more sure thing if I just put money on, these grinding bets that I do, which maybe I should just be doing that. I'm stupid is what it is. I can't, it's like the game aspect of these splash pools, because you're in it with other people. You can communicate with them and whatever. And some of the pro handicappers that are in some of those, I kind of interact with them online and stuff too. So I don't know. It feels like there's just more interactivity with those. But I don't know. I'm an idiot, obviously, because I've been winning my bets since football has begun. So I should just be actually putting money on my bets like I used to, and potentially putting even more money and just doing it professionally. But I haven't freed up enough money, and my money's kind of going away here because I've had to dip into my savings, and I'm not making money on it. So maybe I'm being an idiot, and I should just start betting these. I don't know, man. I got to figure something out here. That's going to do it, though. Thanks for hanging out this morning, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. We have some hockey tomorrow at the very least, and both baseball series, I think, are in action tomorrow too. So we'll be back to talk about that in the Monday night game final analysis for tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to have plays on those, although I do have somewhat of a strong opinion on the Falcons, at least in those two games. So I guess do with that information what you want to. That's going to do it. Happy Sunday, everybody. Peace out for now. Oh, wait, and my plugs, right? LearnToToad on Twitter, LearnToToad on Instagram. Like, subscribe to Better Off Dead here. Review on audio, listen on audio. That helps me out as well. Spotify, Apple. Covered in Uke on YouTube, my Uke channel, and patreon.com/LearnToToad. Bonus Uke content there. That's going to do it. Peace out, guys, for now.